Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. If you already subscribed to this channel and you have seen my previous videos, especially the video about my goals for 2020, then you know that one of my goals was to learn Korean this year. And at first I wanted to wait until July before starting learning Korean because I had my JLPT exam planned, but my JLPT exam got cancelled. So I had some extra time to also start earlier with learning Korean. So in April I have started with just getting to know the language and explore different resources and see what kind of resources I want to use. So why I wanted to make this video is because I want to share with you guys how I start out learning a language. Because the languages that I already speak I have learned many years ago. And one of the languages that I'm learning right now, which is Japanese, I have been learning for a couple of years as well. Only this year I have started learning it seriously and every day. But I was already familiar with this language. I knew 2 of the 3 writing systems. So I wasn't starting from an absolute beginner. Right now with Korean, I am starting as an absolute beginner. Before April, Of course, I did know some things about the Korean language because I watch a lot of Korean TV shows and I love to watch some Korean movies, so I did know how the language sounded and did know that it was a little bit similar to Japanese in some grammar points and some words, but I didn't know any really words. I did only know how to say hello and that's it. And of course I didn't know how to write Hangul, how to use it and how to read in Korean. And I want to share with you in this video what kind of resources I use for Korean only and how did I start out, what are my goals and what I want to achieve in this language this year and maybe next year. And also I want to talk about the things that I find difficult in the language, especially as a beginner, what I think is quite difficult in Korean. And of course I wanted to discuss if it helps to know other languages to learn a new one, and this is entirely for my opinion and my experience, but I wanted to discuss this point as well. So yeah, moving on into the information part of the video. Like I said, I'm an absolute beginner in Korean, so the first thing that I want to focus on is the writing system, is a Korean writing system, which is Hangul, and you also have the Chinese characters, but you don't really need them at your beginning learning. You don't really need them to understand the Korean language and just read simple things. So that's why I only started with Hangul. So how did I start out? In April I just watched a lot of YouTube videos about the pronunciation of Hangul, how the characters work, how do you combine different characters to make a syllable, how do you make words, and how just the Korean language sounds and works. That was my main focus point. And if you're following me on Instagram, maybe you have seen that I have a lot of notebooks for Japanese and I have also a lot of different learning resources for Japanese, but because I'm just starting out with Korean, I wanted to keep things simple. I wanted 1 textbook, maybe 1 workbook and 1 notebook for this year, so that I don't have a lot of different resources. I think that's important in the beginning of your learning, because when you have a lot of resources, it just makes it difficult because you have to spread out your attention on a lot of different resources. So I only have 1 notebook that I'm using. This is a notebook that you can put different subjects in, so I can have my vocabulary, my notes from the book separately, and also grammar points separately, or things that I learned from YouTube. So I can separate the information, but it's only 1 notebook, and if I need to look back or to review everything that I have learned, I can just take this notebook and review it without looking for the information that I have write down in different notebooks like I have now for Japanese. So when I started out in April, I just wrote down all of the goals that I wanted to achieve, and these are goals for 2020. So those are not monthly or weekly goals. And the goals are learn the right pronunciation of Hangul and learn Hangul. So reading, writing and just using it on a daily basis. Learn to introduce yourself, your job and your hobbies. I think that's quite basic, and I think it's something you really need to know in your beginning of learning. It's the first thing you learn, I think, in all of the textbooks. Another goal was to choose 1 textbook and stick to it, so only use that textbook. I think that goal I kind of achieved. So I chose 1 textbook and I'm not going to buy another one before I finish this one. and the other goal is to finish this textbook this year. So I don't know if that's realistic because it's I'm going to show you Korean from Zero. It's quite a big textbook, so I don't know if it's going to be possible for me to finish this book in on the end of this year, but I'm going to try. Find a good online dictionary. So that's something I haven't found yet. I haven't looked into this yet. So if you have any recommendations, just leave them down below in the comments, because I will read all of the comments, of course, and I'm very interested in what kind of dictionaries you guys use for your Korean learning. And another goal was to learn Korean at least once every week. Well, that's something I have been doing for 2 weeks now, because I'm using Anki, which is an app where you can learn vocabulary, grammar points. It's a flashcard app, so you can put in information or you can download pre-made flashcards from the internet. So right now I have downloaded pre-made flashcards for Hangul, and I try to go through them every day. So I have been learning Korean every day, but not like with the textbook and putting in the hours. I think I only spent 10 to 50 minutes for Korean now. And the goal for next month is to go through Korean from Zero book, starting chapter 1 after I have learned Hangul, and start making my own flashcards. And the last goal for this year was to find a simple Korean book or manga to read. So that's a goal that I haven't worked on yet, because I think it's more important to learn how to read before I buy a new book. So yeah, that were the goals. The other things that I did in this notebook were starting with Hangul. So all of this information I got from YouTube, just from YouTube videos, how to write it, how they sound. I just, when I was listening to the videos, I was looking how this character was written, but also how it sounded. And of course I spoke out loud when I was learning to really listen, but also produce the sound of this character. And I did it for quite a while, and I still haven't learned it like the way that I want it, so that I can use it on a daily basis and just see a word and like, oh yeah, I can read it. Because I think it's quite hard to learn a new writing system, and you need to really use it every day. So that's something I'm still doing. So for me, it wasn't possible to learn Hangul in only 1 month by studying a couple of hours per week. And for me, it's not important to learn a language fast. For me, it's important to remember the things that I have learned after a couple of months and even after a couple of years. So it does take some time to learn this writing system. It does take some time for me to learn the basic things. Same goes for Japanese, but I do still remember everything that I have learned. So I think that's more important. So right now I'm just learning that. And I have also used Talk to Me in Korean videos on YouTube. And yeah, that's how I have been doing for now. And writing simple sentences and words. So I didn't really remember the sentences and the words that I have written down, because I only did that to use the Hangul writing system. So I didn't learn vocabulary, I learned how to write in Korean. And that's a different thing, because when I learn vocabulary, I will use flashcards, or I will like really focus on the words. But now I'm just focusing on how to write in Korean. The 2 resources that I have bought for Korean are this workbook and this textbook. So this is a textbook and a workbook in one, Korean from Zero, but this is a separate workbook. And why did I have bought this? Well, in April or end of March, I have seen this workbook, and I wanted something simple to just practice my Hangul writing skills. And this workbook said it had a complete practice workbook for grammar, spelling, vocabulary, reading comprehension, and over 600 questions. So it's a lot, and I only paid 12 euros for this. So that's almost nothing for the things that you can get in this workbook. And I did use it by just writing all the characters over and over again, and also doing different exercises like that. Making words, but then it got quite hard, because they expected you to know or to learn in a different manner the pronunciation. They don't explain pronunciation in this workbook, of course, because you really need your listening skills for that. Kind of expected you to learn the words already and know how to pronounce them. So that's why I stopped using this workbook. and started using YouTube videos again and looking for a good textbook. In my previous video last week, I have explained what kind of textbooks I have bought recently. There was a book haul video, and I also gave a small review about this book. So this is the book that I have chosen for my Korean learning for this year. This is the only textbook that I'm going to use, and I'm not going to buy any other textbooks because it just makes life simpler to use one textbook. So right now I have started out in this book just by going through the chapter about Hangul again and finishing this chapter this month. When I finished it, I will start out with learning words. And the thing that I'm going to do is every word that I will learn in this book, I will put into the Anki app and try to review every day. Because I have noticed I have been doing that for Japanese now. Every word I find online that I want to remember or want to use in my speech, I will add to my Anki flashcards app and review it every day, and that has been working very good for me. So that's why I want to do it for my Korean learning as well. And the things that I find difficult in Korean language is of course learning a new writing system. I found it quite difficult in Japanese, but the moment I realized that I have finally learned it and I could read quickly the signs around me in Japan or just things that I see online, it was such a great moment. And then I realized, well, now I know the writing system, now I know how to read it, and I want to achieve that for Korean this year. But it's still a difficult part of language learning for me, because you have to remember a lot of different characters and to read those words. And another thing that I find difficult in Korean is the pronunciation. So in Japanese, the pronunciation, I won't say it's easy, but it's a little bit easier for me than Korean one. And I know I'm just started out in Korean, so I still need to practice my pronunciation. But the Korean pronunciation is quite difficult, and you have all these rules how you pronounce certain words. And of course, the last thing that I wanted to discuss is the fact, does it really help to know other languages or to have learned other languages previously to learn a new language? So for me, I think it does, because if you only know one language and you have learned it as a native, so you have learned it as a child, it's quite difficult to learn a new language as an adult because you don't know how to learn a language. So as a child, you don't really think about how you're learning a language, and you just learn it in school. You have a lot of time to focus on this language, and you're learning it in a fun way. You have all the time to learn the language. As an adult, you have to schedule in your time. You have to really want to learn this language, and that makes it a little bit difficult, especially if you're not living in the country of your target language. So when you have learned a couple of languages, it is easier to learn a new one. That's something that I have experienced when I started out with Korean, because I knew how Japanese grammar worked, like the basic Japanese grammar. I also understand a little bit of the Korean grammar, like that you put the verbs on the end of the sentence, and a lot of the pronunciation of Korean language, those sounds I know from the Russian language. Not everything, but some sounds like you and things like that. I don't know if I'm not saying this right and if this makes any sense, but some sounds, when I hear them, I'm like, oh, that's a sound that we also have in the Russian language. So it does make it a little bit easier, but it doesn't mean that it's very easy and I don't have to do anything about it. But I have learned for myself some strategies how to learn a language, and I know when I'm starting out a new language what I want to do and what I want to focus on as a beginner. And when you're learning a second language that is different from your native language, especially when it's a lot different. So if your native language is English and you want to learn Japanese or Korean, those languages are very different from the English language. It will take you some time to make strategies and to just figure out how you want to learn this language, where will you start, what is important. And of course, there's a lot of information on the internet how to learn a language. There are a lot of guides, there are a lot of textbooks, but you still have to find something that works for you. And I think that's the difficult part about learning the second language. So I do think it helps to know a couple of languages or to have learned other languages, but it's not that it's this big plus point. I think you still have to put in a lot of work. So I hope you like this video, and I try to make a new video about when I learned some more in Korean. And if you want to know more about my language learning and just the process that I'm going through with Japanese and Korean, you can follow me on Instagram, because there I post a couple of times per week, or at least once per week. So guys, thank you for watching. I hope you subscribe to the channel for more language learning videos, and I will see you next Sunday. Bye!